Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Blind Pinterest Challenge. If you're new here, then make sure to click the subscribe button down below. And I'm not going to get into kind of the rules or anything like that for what we're doing today. It is pretty self-explanatory, but if you do want to know, then head over to the first episode I did on my channel. There'll be a playlist or something over on there. But let's dive into Pinterest and see what we can find. Take this off first. Ugh. Oh. Light. It's too much light. Right, we're on Pinterest now, and I was wanting something hopefully a little bit easier than the last one. So I'm going to search for easy craft projects and see what comes up. I'm just wondering, I could do this. I don't think I like them that much. I don't see the point of them. The sun catchers. I don't even know what a sun catcher is. I don't know how they make them. I don't know whether... Oh, I think they make them out of glue, don't they? Pretty sure these sun catcher things, they make them out of like transparent glue, because I thought they were made out of resin. You know what? I'm going to give this one a go. So, some little sun catcher things. I'll try and make some of these, see how they go, but I think they'll be pretty straightforward and pretty easy. I'm probably already foreshadowing the fact that I'm going to make a complete mess of it. But I'll try this one, but I think I'm going to get a second one just to see what else I can do. Because I do think that they're going to be pretty simple. Ah, oh, I wouldn't care. That looks really cool. I suppose it hasn't really told us how to do it. So it's like a little... I think these are great, if I'm honest. I've never seen these before. This was the first thing that popped up as well. So it's like a little lampshade for a wine glass. And you put a candle in. So I just need to be able to make the lampshade. And I assume I'm just going to cut some fabric out and slip it over the top of the wine glass. I like that. I like that idea. I like it because it's a simple idea and it looks really effective. I think I'm going to do that one and the sun catchers. Do you think that's enough? Shall I do another one? Let me have a quick look, see what else I can find. Ooh, I quite like these. How the hell have they made these? I'm not sure. I'm not sure how they've made these, but I've got some glow-in-the-dark pigment in the studio already. I don't think it's a liquid inside. I think they've kind of painted it on or something. If I mixed some glow-in-the-dark pigment with some glue or something like that and then dotted it onto the jars, I could do that. And I've got some leftover jars from the last project that I did, because I didn't keep them the way they were because they looked horrendous. So you know what, I'm going to do 3 in this episode. Why the not? Because they are pretty simple, straightforward. So I'm going to do the sun catcher things. I don't see the point of them, but I'm going to do them. I'm going to do the wine glass lampshade covers, which I think are so cool. I've never seen them before. And I'll do the glow-in-the-dark, what are they called? DIY fairy light mason jars, and kind of do my own interpretation of that as well. Okay, so leave that with us. I'll probably need another week to kind of source materials and suss things out a little bit, but it shouldn't be too hard, so I'll see ya now. Okay, I'm back and I'm pretty sure I've got everything that I need to complete these 3 projects. The first one that I'm going to start off with is the sun catcher piece, because I'm going to need to wait a good few hours for it to set. And although I mentioned before that I think they use a clear glue, I'm actually going to be using resin instead, mainly because I've already got some resin in the studio and clear glue is expensive. It was like 20 quid for like a little pot. So I'll do this one first and then we can wait a few hours for it to dry and come back later on in the video and see what it looks like. Yeah, so for these sun catchers, I've got a little mold here, and I bought these when I bought some coaster molds when I was doing resin coasters for Craftmas. I got some little glass beads and I also got some glass nuggets. And I think if you do use clear glue, I think it'll probably take I can imagine it'd take probably like 2, 3, 4 days to set, but with resin it would take a lot less time. I am using polyester, but I would recommend using epoxy if you're going to do this, because we're doing a thin cast, but I don't have any epoxy and I wasn't going to buy any just for this, so there we have it. And to be fair, this might not work. I think it will, it should work. I'd be very shocked if it didn't, but knowing my luck, you never know. And I'm just going to put these nugget things around the side. This isn't going to look exactly like the picture because I have no idea where they got all their little things from, but these are quite nice though. I'll put these in the middle, and I think that's what my Suncatcher will look like, but I'm just going to pour the resin in, and I want to make sure all of it's coated, and I want to make sure it's filled right to the top. Perfect. Okay, and I will leave that for... I would usually leave this for 24, 48 hours, but I'm not going to have time, and I think it'll be hard enough to get out within a few hours, so we will crack on with the other projects we've got to do while I wait for this one to set, and then we'll see if it's going to work or not. Right, while that resin's setting, I thought we would move on to the jars because they'll have a drying time as well. And my thought process behind this one is I'll mix some PVA with some glow pigment, which I already have in the studio, and then I'm just going to... I wish Ralph would shut up. Back. And then I'm just going to add some very thin dots onto the outside of the jars. Right, I've lost track of what I was talking about because Ralph, my other dog, was barking and making loads of noise. So I've had to tell him to shut up because I'm recording. So I can't remember what I was just saying, but I think I just said that I'm mixing this with this, and then I'm going to add some thin dots onto the outside of the jars and then wait for them to dry, and I'm going to do 4. And these jars, if you remember from my last episode, are these jars because I didn't keep them in that horrible configuration thing that I created, which was just shite. Absolutely shite. So we'll mix some of this in with my glue. I want a decent amount because I just do. I was thinking about mixing it with resin, the glow pigment, but I think glue will work just as well, and then it'll dry quicker. And if you don't know, this glow pigment is similar to, you know, when you had them little kind of plastic stars stuck on your ceiling when you were a kid. It's that kind of stuff. So it absorbs sunlight or just natural light, and then it gives off a glow. And I think that's, well, I'm 100% sure that's what they've done in that picture. I think, I could be wrong, but that's the way I'm doing them. So I just want some very thin little dots scattered all the way around. And they seem to have them quite condensed on the jar. So I don't think I'm going to do it quite sparse. I think I need them really close together. And I think this is how they've done them. It's the only way in my mind I could see it working. And I don't want to make these dots too thick either because I don't want the glue to run down the jar and then ruin it. But I'm the kind of person who is like more is more, and more is better. Not less is more.
More is more.
I'm going to speed through these 4 jars and I'll meet you at the other end. I just thought as well with these, I'm going to do some, I know I'm not supposed to because I'm supposed to be making it exactly how it is, but rather than have 4 that are exactly the same, I'm going to paint some lines on a couple of them, just to see what it looks like, to see if it works. I have a feeling that this is going to work. I'm probably jinxing myself, but I think they're going to look pretty good. Some lines on that one, and then I think with this one I'm going to do kind of like a painterly dashes. Right, I'm done with them. This is kind of what they look like. So I've got stripes here, paint dashy things here, and then two that are the kind of original, the OGs, which are the little dots. And we'll put them to one side for a couple of hours, wait for them to dry, and we'll see if it worked. Right, while I wait for the sun catchers or the sun catcher and the jars to dry, I thought I'd make a head start and try and do the wine glass one. I think it's going to be pretty straightforward. What I've done is I've got some printed out paper just from my computer. I just found some images from Google and printed some patterns out. Got some normal wine glasses and I've got some sellotape, and I think I'm just going to cut the paper into a shape. I don't know, right, let's try. I'm going to want the paper to go over, and then that needs to form kind of a lampshade. Shall I maybe do it like this? Do it like this. Stick it down the side, fold that over, or I could just stick it straight to the glass, couldn't I? I don't know. I thought this one would be really straightforward, and for some reason I'm having a lot of trouble thinking about it and getting my head around it. So if I stick, I think the best way to do it, looking at the image, would be to stick this around the lip of that. Put it like that. You know what I'll do? I'll stick it down first. I think I know what I'm doing. Right, I want to stick this across the wine glass. I'm just going to use sellotape because I want to, obviously, I don't want to waste my wine glasses. I want to use them again for wine. Try and get as far to the edge as I can. And if you've made these before and I'm doing it completely wrong, I apologise. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just trying my best. The last bit. Maybe cut the paper beforehand, but I wasn't sure how to cut the paper, and I really don't want to screw it up and have to reprint it all out again, so... Right. So I have that like that. Trim this top bit off, and I want that to go to about here, so I want to cut, I think, about here. Oh, my cutting ability isn't good. It's fine. Right, I want to cut it a bit further because that's a bit long. Also, I'm a bit worried that I'm using just normal cartridge paper and it's obviously going to be near flames. So I don't know whether, safety-wise, this is the right thing to do. I was thinking of using some sort of plastic, but I couldn't really figure it out what I wanted to do. You know what, mine don't look too bad. They're just not kind of slanty, they're more square. But what I'm going to do is repeat it. Oh, it's a bit wonky. Repeat it for the other four, and then we'll take it downstairs into the bathroom, so I can put some candles in, and then we can see what they look like in darkness. And hopefully it'll hide all of this. I also have my jars that are finished and dry now, so as well as the wine glasses, we'll take these down into the bathroom and see what these look like in the darkness as well. Okay, I'm in the bathroom, so apologies if it's a little bit echoey. I didn't see us now. And I thought we could start off with the jars because they're the ones that I think would work better. I don't know whether shining a UV light in my face is actually healthy or not, I don't know. But I've got the jars behind us, and as you can see, not a lot is happening. And I think that's because the concentration of the pigment wasn't strong enough for them, which is a shame, but I'll bring you a bit closer, hang on. So this is them here, and I'm just going to try and charge up the UV, see if we can see what they're actually supposed to look like. So yeah, so we've got expectation, reality. They just, they just haven't worked very well, and I'm really disappointed because I thought these would have worked fine. But again, it's just because the concentration of the pigment isn't strong enough. So if I was to do it again, I would get a much finer pigment, do less PVA and more pigment with it, and then it would maybe work a bit better. So unfortunately, they don't look great. They don't look particularly fantastic. I've had much better results with glow pigment than that. Yeah, they're pretty shitty. But never mind. Now we'll switch light source to a lighter. We'll do the lampshade candle things and we'll see if they're going to be any better. And I don't think they're going to be, but we'll light some candles and pop them in and have a look. You know what, I think these already are 100 times better than the pigment jar things, because the pigment jar things were shite. So this is them here, and you know what, I'm not mad at them. So hang on, I'll get all 4 of them. So, expectation, reality. And you know what, although they're not as sophisticated or as kind of polished around the edges as the ones on Pinterest, I think I've done a half decent interpretation. If I could have got like the bevel bit at the bottom to make it look more like a lampshade, then I think they would have worked better. Obviously the seam at the back looks horrible, but if you look at it from here and kind of upwards, they look presentable. And, oh, I forgot to tell you how much money everything cost us. So, this is the good part. So, the wine glasses, lampshade things, cost me 0, cost me nothing. Because I already had the candles, already had the wine glasses, and I just printed paper out and the patterns off the computer. The jars behind us cost me nothing, because I already had the pigment, I had the PVA glue, and I already had the jars. So that cost me no money at all. But if I was to do the jars from scratch, I think they would cost me probably about £20–30. Wouldn't be worth it at all. And if I was to make these from scratch, it would probably cost me wouldn't cost me too much. Probably about £5–10 maybe ish. So these aren't too bad. I'm not mad at these. They're not perfect, but I'm fine with them. And I think if you were having like a nice Valentine's Day meal or something and you need to whip up something quick to decorate the table or something, then these would be fine. But just put a lamp on. So I've showed you these two. Now we've only got the Suncatcher, so I'll go back into the studio and show you how that's turned out. Okay, 2 down and 1 to go, and now we've got our Suncatcher here, and it's not going to be set. It's going to be super tacky because it's only been resting for about 4 or 5 hours, and it should really have a decent 2 days. So that's why I'm wearing gloves, because I know it's not going to be right, but it's going to be enough to see kind of what it can look like. But I'm gonna end up putting loads of fingerprints all over it, so just ignore that. And it's really kind of soft and squidgy still, but that's it there. And it's fine. I'll show you what it looks like in kind of the natural light. And it does look nice. It's clear and it shows the colours, and I suppose it catches the sun. Do I think it's kind of worth it? Oh, and by the way, this cost me... Oh, hang on. So, we've got expectation. Reality. I think if I had more time and kind of... Maybe if I used glue, this could have turned out better, but... If I'm honest with you, I thought it was a pretty naff idea anyway. I'm not sure the point of kind of sun catchers other than catching the sun, and you know what, they're okay. It's fine. Money wise though, this set me back about £10 in all these kind of beady things, but I already had the resin, I already had the mould. But if you didn't have these things, these little craft things, it cost you a fortune, and I don't think they're worth it at all. So they were my 3 blind Pinterest challenge craft project things I've done today in today's episode. and I think the wine glass things, I think they were decent. I think they went okay. The other two were just like... They were kind of halfway there, but not fully there. Even the wine glasses were halfway there and not fully there. I think the only one I would really recommend is the wine glass one. I think that's still a really good idea if you get it right. Mine needs some sort of tweaking, but that's kind of the way I've done it. But let me know down below if you've done any of these before, if you'd have done them differently, whether you want to do them, or whether you think they're an absolute waste of time to begin with. Let me know your opinions on this thing, because I'm not convinced. I'm still not convinced, even if I did it right, that I would enjoy it. But maybe it's more of a kids thing, I don't know. But let me know what you think of this down below. And if you did enjoy today's episode, make sure to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already so you don't miss any other episodes that I do. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye!